Hey, Bridging the Gap.
What's going on, Bridging the Gap family? It's Roger,
And Cheryl.
in case y'all didn't know. All right, guys. So today we're going to share with you what we're trying to accomplish with Cornelius in the northern part of Ghana, in the Tamale region, but specifically in the communities around St. Paula, and how you can engage if you want to partner with us on that. As we get ready to jump into this video, I just want to tell you what's been on my mind this last week. We lost Kobe Bryant this week. And as shocked as the world was that something like that happened to this young man in his prime, the stories that have come out of that told me a lot about who Kobe was off the court. Heard a lot of people talk about even him and Shaq, with all the differences they had, Kobe checking up on his son an hour just before the helicopter incident. He talked to LeBron that morning and so many other people. Michael Wilbon's story of how Kobe helped him to get his life together after his heart attack and focus on caring for his health. It was just a tribute to how much the brother actually cared about people. And as we start this project, that's the mindset we want to take into this is Kobe's legacy will never end because he spent so much time pouring into people. Forget what he did on the basketball court or what he was doing with his media production company. It was the people and the lives that he touched that will carry that legacy on. And we want to have that mindset, at least beginning in the northern part of Ghana, not from a business standpoint, but just from the standpoint of loving on people, man. Hurting people hurt people, and we see that every day. We want to take a mindset of loving people, loving on people, and carry that Mamba mentality into the northern part of Ghana and bless some of these folks because there's a need. There's a definite need. So, with that, there are three different areas that we want to focus on from a charitable standpoint in the northern part of Ghana. First is farming, second is water, the third is businesses. So, let's start with the farming project. You guys already know that the reason we went to the northern part of Ghana was to scout out what the need was and where we might be able to help and possibly donate a tractor. And then to do the youth summit that we did. And some of these things we're going to talk about today actually came out of that youth summit that we had no plans on actually dealing with until we saw the need and what these young folks really desired. So with that, do you want to... We're going to start. Let's start with what came out of that and what has already been done, right? So we went to Ghana. We saw Cornelius, and we committed at this youth summit to all these young folks who wanted to engage in farming that we would commit to getting them a tractor. So we've done that.
And so we want to tell them a little bit about why they wanted the tractor, what did they want to do with it.
Yeah, I was going to show them pictures first, or do you want to do that afterwards?
Go ahead.
Okay. So, the folks in the northern part of Ghana, really a large part of Ghana and large part of Africa, the majority of the farming is subsistence farming. They are actually just farming enough of these crops to feed themselves and their families. There's no profit in it. There's no sustainability in it. And if you have a drought, you're going to struggle, right? So the problem that they have is not that they don't have the land to farm. They have all the land in the world. You heard Cornelius. I asked him if there's 100 acres I wanted to farm, could I farm it? He said, if you wanted to farm 1,000,000 acres, you could farm it. The land is there. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to lease it. You don't have to rent it. As long as you can farm it, farm it. Problem is they don't have the equipment. So we gathered all of these young folks together and I asked them, how many of you would like to engage in the farming industry? And the hands that went up was like 95% of the room. They want to, they just don't have the resources. So with this one tractor, they're going to be able to farm, I think Cornelius said 100 or 200 acres of land, right? And so we're going to break it up into like 4-acre lots for each individual. So now they're not just farming a small piece of land that can feed them. They're farming enough land that they can actually feed themselves, that they can sell some of the produce and have an income from it. And it should help several different people in this community as it'll be a Touching Lives Center tractor that will be put to use in the community. And Cornelius will have plans and schedules and time for people to use the tractor so that it's spread out as far as it can amongst as many people as possible.
So let's look at a picture.
So this is the tractor we just got Cornelius, that we donated the money for him to get for the Touching Lives Center. He just took possession of the tractor a couple of weeks ago. That's a picture of Cornelius with the tractor. That's good. So once the plowing season begins, which I believe is in March, there are going to be a number of people who are going to sign up to be community users of the tractor so they can take their 4 acres and farm it. There will be an agreement with those folks because we want to have a level of accountability, right? So Cornelius will have an agreement with those folks that 25% of the produce will come back to the Touching Lives Center. That produce that will come back to the Touching Lives Center will be used for charitable purposes for people who don't have. So we're going to help them while they help their community. So everybody's engaged in lifting the entire community. Anything you have to say about the farming?
No.
All right. So the next thing.
Well, one thing is to make clear that this farming project is the charitable part. Just to make that clear, because we have another farming project that's the business side in a different area of Ghana. But this one is strictly for charitable purposes.
Yes. Everything we do up north right now in St. Paula, in the Tamale region, the Sahara region of Ghana, everything we do up there is just going to be a love offering. And when you go to our site, and you'll see when you can engage, is we call you love ambassadors, because that's what this is about. This is a love mission. With that, the next thing we want to talk about is we had a chance to engage in an event that Cornelius does every Christmas. He picks a community, one of the communities in his area, and he gives away clothing that he's had donated to the Touching Lives Center to the children of that community. So we went to this community to participate in the giving away of clothes, and we had some time to sit down and speak with the chief of the community and kind of hear, a little bit about the community and what was going on, what the needs were. So we'll start with the pictures.
For the, let's see.
So this is a picture of us sitting with the chief. Was it either just before? I think it was just after we finished the clothes giveaway. That's me, Cornelius, and Cheryl with some of the elders in the community. And this next picture is actually another angle of us. Actually, I think that's Cornelius on my left. Anyway, another picture of us, and that is the chief on the left-hand side. I'll be honest with you guys. This particular meeting broke my heart. Absolutely broke my heart. In this area, there's extreme levels of poverty. This is kind of the things that they show us about Africa, all of Africa, everywhere. Well, this is reality for them. And this chief was imploring us to do anything we can to help. And the biggest challenge he said they have is drinking water. And so he was really, really concerned about his community, especially the young folks in the community, because they simply just don't have any decent water to drink. Mm-hmm. You heard Cornelius say in the interview that you can go places in the northern part of Ghana and see animals and people drinking out of the same watering hole. And that's not uncommon to see. But while we were there, just after our meeting with the chief, we went outside and we were talking with some of the people in the community, and this brother was drinking some water out of a jar. Was that a jar?
Some kind of jug.
Something we could see through, right? And it was nothing anybody watching this video would ever even contemplate drinking. They actually offered us some, offered to see if we wanted some because it was hot outside. And we politely declined because he was seriously being generous, but that's all they had to give, right? So this meeting with this chief literally broke my heart. Not one thing the water in this community, Cheryl and I committed, if nothing else, we will put a borehole here. So a borehole will allow them to pump water out of the ground for the community. So what we're looking to do is in that particular community, I promised him, well, I didn't promise him, I promised my wife and I promised ourselves that we would get a borehole in that community. There's 3 different types of boreholes. There are boreholes that are water pumped, or hand pumped, I mean. They're not as reliable, right? Then they have those that are generated by electricity, and problem is a lot of these communities, they don't have electricity. So then they have those that are solar powered. The hand pump ones are the least expensive. They're about $3,000 US. The electrical ones are about $4,000, and the solar ones are about $5,000. We are going to get at least one. If we have to do it just by ourselves, we're going to put one borehole in this community, just because the tug on my heart, our hearts, after meeting with this chief was that strong. It's going to happen. There's about 5 or 6 communities in the St. Paula region. What we're aiming to do is put a borehole in each one of them. So that would be about 30 grand that we're hoping to raise over a period of time, but we definitely need to raise this first 5 grand ASAP. That reminds me, on the farming project, we started with this one tractor, and we're going to give it some time and make sure we have programs in place for people to use the tractor, but ultimately the goal there is to add 2 or 3 more tractors. What we're trying to do, folks, is change the lives of hundreds of people. Hundreds of people.
Yeah, and it's not about just giving aid. It's more of a partnership so that they can become self-sufficient and,
It's that teach a man to fish.
Yeah. So they're not looking for just give, and just keep on giving. They want to have enough to get a head start, to do some things for themselves, for their own community.
To make enough money to actually have some money saved up.
Yeah.
If you're living hand to mouth, how do you survive a crisis?
Well, every dry season is a crisis.
Right.
So
every dry season is a crisis. So how do you get through just regular stuff, unforeseen stuff? How do you get through those times when you don't have any way of storing up anything for the future?
Right.
This is a way for them to sell something, so they'll have a little money, around for the dry season. They'll have a little money around if they have a financial crisis or a medical crisis. They will have something, and there will be a portion of that always comes back to the Touching Lives Center to be used for charitable purposes, for those who can't, for the elderly or the kids who don't have, parents, that can provide, or whatever the case may be. It's going to be about helping everybody to contribute to the community. We're not here to take care of the entire community. We're here to put them in position to help contribute and take care of one another.
Right.
So that's the mission. But the boreholes and that meeting with this chief was really the most heartbreaking thing I've seen in any one of the 3 trips we've been to.
Yeah.
He was really, truly imploring us to help, and we're going to. So with that, is that all about the meeting with the chief?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that, we want to talk a little bit about our meeting, the youth conference that we went there for. We only went there for 2 things. We went there for the tractor and the youth conference. Mm-hmm. So we went to the youth conference, and let's show those pictures before we start talking about what came out of the youth conference. I want you to see how many kids showed up to this conference. That's a side view of the room. This is from Cheryl and I's back, looking out at this room full of people. When I told you guys that I asked these kids, how many of you would like to engage in farming? If you could have seen, I wish we had got a picture of that, the hands that went up, and they went up immediately. It's like it's something they're very eager to do and just can't figure out how to really engage.
Yeah, and these are young men. So this was primarily a room full of young men, and they weren't forced to be here.
Mm-mm.
They weren't forced to come to this event. They came there voluntarily.
This had nothing to do with the chieftaincy celebration, none of that. This was a day later.
Yeah.
These folks came just to hear what we had to say, to try to pour into them and encourage them. Mm-hmm. They didn't know we were going to do anything for them.
Yeah.
Cornelius hadn't told them about the tractor. Nobody knew about that tractor except for Cornelius and us.
Mm-hmm.
These kids showed up because they're eager.
Right.
They want somebody to pour into them, to help them, to guide them.
Mm-hmm.
So when I asked that question about the farming and those hands shot up so quickly, I was like, done deal. That's all I need to see. At that point, we hadn't seen any land. Didn't need to see any land. Mm-hmm. Cornelius told us what the need was. These kids showed up in droves, and every one of them was eager to farm. We said, okay, done deal. Let's do that. So the other thing that came out of there, well, actually, I have one more thing to say about that. I asked the room, after all those hands went up so quickly, I asked them all, I said, what's the one thing that is stopping all of you who want to farm from farming? Young man stood up and said simply one word: poverty. Mm-hmm. This kid was about 18 to 20 years old. He said the one thing that's stopping everybody in this room is poverty. That touched me as well. Didn't pull on my heart quite as hard as the water situation, but that touched me. Got a bunch of able-bodied young men who show up when they don't have to, just because they're eager. They want somebody to give them a shot. So, out of that, we had a question in the youth summit. Somebody asked a question: what about people in other business arenas outside of farming that need help? And we had not thought about that. Mm-hmm. So at the end of that day, we said, here's what we're going to do. We want you guys to put together a business summary of what kind of businesses you're looking to start or already have, what you're looking for to enhance that business or to get it off the ground up and running. And we're going to see if we can't fund at least 3 of those businesses. We came back, the next day?
Mm-hmm. We kept getting reports that they were just coming in.
Rolling in. And we were like, that's good. We got back, and there was a stack.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insane.
Yeah.
Even young ladies who weren't really at the business summit.
They were over on the side.
Yeah, but there weren't many of them, but there was a ton of them in this stack of businesses, ideas that they had already begun and just needed some help with, or were looking to launch and get off the ground. And the cool thing about it is most of them had a mindset of how they could give back to the community. Mm-hmm. We didn't ask for that. Right. They just talked about it.
It wasn't a requirement. We just told them we need to know what the business was and how much money they need. Tell us, that. Every
one of them talked about, and I won't say everyone, but most of them talked about how it would benefit the community, what the people of their area need. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's impressive. So we told them we were going to pick 3. We actually ended up picking 4 to start with. But the goal, guys, is we want to slowly over time fund every one of these businesses. Mm-hmm. We have probably a stack of 30 or 40 of them. But we want to, over time, if we can, help them get started. Now, having said that, this is where there definitely needs to be an area of accountability, because we're not just going to give money to people to go off and buy a motorcycle and blow the money on going to the club, right? That's not what we're here for. We're looking to uplift this community. So Cornelius and I are working on programs. We have a young lady named Juliet that was at the meet and greet in Accra, who has volunteered her time to go up north. It's a 10-hour drive. She could hop a flight, but I don't know how she's going to get there, but it's a long ways away. She volunteered her time to go meet with these folks and make sure that they understand bookkeeping and how to keep their records straight and to budget and finance and do all of those things. Mm-hmm. Cornelius is going to draw up contracts with each one of these businesses that are launching or growing, and 50% of what they receive will be paid back. So this is a charitable donation from our side, but we're not giving away the farm. If you want to grow your business, as always needs to be a level of accountability in business. 50% of it will be paid back, again, to the Touching Lives Center to be used to help other businesses. We are going to position them to where they can lift themselves and the community at once. That is the whole goal. So, the 4 businesses that we picked, is there anything else that I missed on it? 4 businesses we picked was, you want to share these?
Go ahead.
I'm out of wind.
Okay, the first one was a fuel business. And this is a young man who sells engine oil, diesel fuel, and other kind of...
brake fluid.
Yeah, fuel. and he needs funding for infrastructure.
He's already got a business. It's
Yeah.
already an existing business putting out produce.
Right. And so he requested for his business 10,000 CDs, which is about $2,000. And what we did to narrow these down, I don't think you mentioned this, was basically we went through all the proposals because they only really had a day or so to pull them together. So it really had to be something they were already thinking about. And so we went through and narrowed down the ones who actually had concrete numbers, and you could tell they had thought through the business, how much it costs, and had done some research. So that's kind of how we narrowed it down for the most part. The second business is a tile and flooring business. And that's a new business, right? That one was a new one.
That is a new business, but he was talking, even in that business, he was talking about the community and the need. Yeah. He was saying that when people build a house in St. Paula, they have to go to Accra or Tamale to get their flooring. So it's a challenge to actually build in their region without having to go distance to get things that everybody needs on a day-to-day basis. So even in this new business, he's thinking about what the community needs.
Yep. And so for that, he needs 16,000 CDs, and that's about $3,000 US. The third business is a fertilizer and chemical dealer, and this is a business that's existing, so this is going to be used to expand that. And you want to talk a little bit about what we read the other day about fertilizer?
Yeah, this one when we read it, the way it was clear that he had been running a business and that he put some thought into what he needed to grow his business. So that's why we picked it. Recently, in our own due diligence, we've come to realize that there's an extreme shortage of fertilizer in Ghana, I think, all across Africa, but I know for sure in Ghana. So he knows that for the farming, and he's a chemical dealer, so pesticides and things of that nature. He knows for the farming industry, you can't farm without these things, and so he's trying to meet that need in his community.
Yeah, because right now, they're importing a lot of fertilizer.
A whole bunch. Yeah. We just read this the other day, and I wish I could remember the numbers on the article we read, but they are importing a gang of fertilizer to try to farm the lands that they have. He's trying to meet that need in their community.
Yes. So for him, he's asking for 44,000 CDs, which is about $8,000. The fourth business is an animal farming business, and he farms sheep or goat. I think it was sheep or goat.
Yeah.
Okay, it's animal farming. It's an existing business. He already has a couple of the animals or a few of the animals, and he's looking to expand that, and he needs 1,800 CDs, which is only $200 US.
Right. Yeah. Not a whole lot of money, and this last one kind of touched me as well. This individual is saying after a couple of years, they will be able to donate a sheep to the youth. So they're thinking already about how they can give back to their own people in their community if they can just get things going and bring in a little more income they want to generate for themselves and for others. So between all of those, what are we looking at? Probably should have did the math on this.
3, 5, 13, a little over 13,000.
13,000 for the businesses.
Yeah.
30,000 for all 6 boreholes. That's what, 43?
Yeah.
And let's call each tractor about 10 grand. It was a little less than 10 grand to put the tractor together. If we could get 3 more of those, we would be about $75,000, man. $75,000, we can make a major, major impact in hundreds of lives and help them to continue to impact their neighbors. Right? So that's the mission. I mean, we may not reach all of it. We may not get 4 tractors. We may get 2. We may get 3. The boreholes, that needs to be done. We need to see if we can pull together and get all 6 of those. That is really, of all these things, my heart goes towards that one most because you can't survive without water. So if we could put together that, we need to pull together 30 grand for that. And then the businesses, these people have an entrepreneurial spirit. And their spirit is not about greed. It's about elevating themselves and elevating their community. I think we need to do whatever we can to get it done. So we're going to start receiving those donations from you guys and tell you how to get engaged. But before we talk about how that happens, for Cheryl talks about that, I want to talk about, well, two things I want to talk about. We've taken a little bit of time to get back to you guys with details about this, about the tourism, about the farming project. It's taken a little bit of time because my wife has taken on another endeavor to make this better and easier for you. She don't want me to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. She's decided to put together a website for Bridging the Gap, and this has just been in the last couple of days. So everything that you guys are going to engage in and anything that we're doing on the continent, she's made it simple. She's created a website. You're going to have options on whatever arena you want to engage in simply because of her efforts and her skill sets. And she's tapping me on my leg to shut up, but I won't. She's something else. She's pretty special. So I know you don't like me to embarrass you like that, but hey, it's taken a little while because she's got you guys in mind. She wants to make this as simple as possible, and she's brilliant. So why not? So back to Cornelius and giving these funds. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about this whole fund giving process because we had something in our mind about how we were going to set this up and whether you guys would want to give to us and we give it to Cornelius or setting you up where you can give it to Cornelius directly to the Touching Lives bank account in Ghana. We kind of had it in our mind, and Cornelius reached out to us today, and some of you will be able to testify to this. He said, Daddy, a few people have reached out to me from the YouTube channel. They've reached out to me on Facebook and said they want to help. And he says, I told each one of them that they need to reach you. And I was like, told them to reach me for what? And he said, Daddy, I don't ever want it to appear that I'm doing anything behind your back. I was like, for real? I mean, this is for the Touching Lives Center. This is not for us. And really, it creates a little bit more of an administrative issue for us because, you know, as a nonprofit, we have responsibilities to people who donate to our nonprofit. So I was just going to connect you guys directly and give you the option to donate through us if you wanted to. This young man's integrity, he wants to avoid even the appearance of anything wrong. And that to me was like, wow. I mean, I've been impressed with him, extremely impressed with him for months, but that stood out to me. So that's why we're putting together the things the way we are that Cheryl's going to explain to you. Whether that'll change down the road or not, I don't know. I think it would be good for you guys to be connected with Cornelius individually, but for now, things will be coming up through us, and we will make sure every dime gets to him. But that was just impressive to me, and I wanted to share it with you guys.
So just so you guys know, all the money comes into our nonprofit. We have a foundation. The money will come there, and it's from there that we'll give it directly to Cornelius. We won't keep anything. We're not keeping a percentage or anything like that. No administrative, what do some people do? Administrative costs and all that kind of stuff. We're not doing that. Whatever money that comes in will go directly to Touching Lives Center. So since somebody already let the cat out of the bag talking about the website, but yeah, we will have on the website, we will have different options for you. For those who want to be a love ambassador, that's what we're calling it. And to give, you'll have the option whether you want to give regularly, like a small monthly amount, or if you want to just do a one-time donation, you'll have those options. It'll be right on there. We'll also have on there information about, we'll have this video on there. We'll have other videos, updates, pictures, because Cornelius is very good at keeping us updated, being accountable.
He's going to bury y'all in documentation
Yeah,
with what he's doing with your money.
Yes, and we will share that with you. So we'll make sure we have it on the website, and then also you'll get it because you'll also be on our mailing list, and we'll send updates that way as well. And for those, because it's a nonprofit, the way this works, if your donation is over $250 total, then you will get a tax receipt at the end of the year, or for the prior year. So it's only for donations that are over $250, meaning total. So even if you give a little bit a month and it totals over 250, you'll get that receipt for your taxes as well.
Yep. So I think that's about it, guys. This is where we want to start in Ghana. Before we thought about doing business or anything else, we had this connection with Cornelius, and he was seeking assistance, and we were engaging in that. And now that we're fully engaged and know who he is and what he's doing and the lives that he's impacting, we want to start here before we do anything, because this is where it all started. I want to give a quick shout out to my boy Chris and Cheryl. They have been connected with Cornelius. They basically funded the computer center that you guys saw in the video I did with Cornelius, and that is just about complete. Chris and Cheryl are helping them to get the computer center um, finished up. And then they themselves, guys, are looking at maybe potentially taking up a couple of these boreholes that we need to get. Cheryl Swoops and Chris Unclatio, we want to say thank you for partnering with us, for having a heart and loving on people. With that, guys, we feel the same way about each and every one of you, and it doesn't matter the amount that you can give.
Right.
The
amount
really
is not the issue.
It's not the issue. Mm-hmm. We do not care. If you have a heart for the continent, if you have a heart for people, and you see this as a good project, any amount you give will be much appreciated. And what I just mentioned about them applies to each and every one of you. So God bless you, and let's go make a difference in the northern part of Ghana. We're going to pull a New Jack City jet move, and we're going to take over the whole Carter. We're going to take over the northern part of Ghana with love.
All right. Bye, guys.